I now know what other kids are signing out there.
How do you get money as a kid? The few ways are through your labor with chores, gifts, birthday money. You beg people for donations to your fundraiser, selling Girl Scout cookies. Simplify it down to labor and charity. Crowder's way of getting money is it closer to labor or charity?
Yeah, that's terrible. I think it's...
So if Stephen comes on screen, talks, makes you laugh, and says, please donate, or please join my club, is that closer to you're paying him to shovel your snow? Or it's like you see some Girl Scouts selling cookies on the way out to Walmart. Maybe that's not really what you want, but you go, all right, it's for a good cause, and you give them some money.
I just think that's wrong to treat people that way. But
there's no one in the Bible who we're supposed to imitate that was an entertainer who got to be rich off of begging for donations for pointing people towards the pleasures of the flesh. The people in the Bible we're supposed to measure up to endured persecution for speaking the harsh truth. Conservatives often get associated with godliness rather than wickedness. It's a free ride. But people in the Bible who spoke for God, the prophets, were chased and killed to be silenced.
I just think that's wrong to treat people that way. But
they weren't usually given the safe space Stephen thinks he's entitled to. Crowder's trying to pin the blame on Big Con. Daily Wire, why aren't you more supportive of the prophets? What Crowder gets wrong is, this isn't just the Daily Wire's fault, but if the Bible is true, Stephen has impossible expectations.
To be really, I haven't been happy for a while because when you know what goes on behind these scenes and you see how many people are complicit, it creates an air of hopelessness.
If the Bible is truthful about Christians being like sheep led to the slaughter, there will be no safe space for Stephen to walk and talk like Christ and to be comfortably rich. If Stephen is comparing himself to heathen entertainers who speak against God and are protected, celebrated, and wealthy, it's a false comparison. If he's godly, he should be comparing himself to people from the Bible who are mouthpieces of God, who face hardships. Paul wrote to Timothy in the second letter, yes, all those who want to live like Christ will be persecuted. Stephen somehow thinks he's going to be right with God and escape that. Not just not be persecuted, but be wealthy. There is no threat to heathens that if they will face persecution in this life if they accept the devil's temptations to disobey God. The devil tempted Jesus to rule every kingdom, so I don't think he has a lack of money, power, or pleasure to offer. What in the Bible would make Crowder think that there would be a big company that wants to pay people millions of dollars for little work of just say some bad things about the devil and we will make you rich? Is it the Daily Wire's fault for not giving Stephen more money or protection? If the Daily Wire is a business and a business goal is to stay in business, a Christian being led to the slaughter to be a martyr does not have the same goal as a business which whole goal is to stay alive or survive. So if a business wants to stay alive and a Christian goes, hey, I'm willing to give up my life, those two competing goals are going to be at odds with one another. If the Daily Wire or whichever big con company has profit plus having a godly message, it can't serve two masters. You aren't arguing with me, and your logic that it can goes against Jesus' own words. You can follow Jesus and be 100% faithful to his ways and path, or you're serving two masters. And Jesus says you can't do that. If the Daily Wire says they need money to make their influence, then it's against Jesus who says you can't serve God and mammon. Moses didn't need money to part the Red Sea, and Jesus doesn't need money when he comes back with fire to judge this world.
Where you think the people who are supposed to be linking arms and fighting with you, fighting for you, want to punish you. And I want to let you know, it's not the exception. It's the rule.
To Stephen's defense, he might say, no, I understand. As a Christian or conservative, I understand I'm going to be persecuted, not the most popular person. I just would expect to be backed up by people in my corner, the church. But again, I think he's making a false dilemma, that he's not being betrayed by the church. He's being betrayed by a business. And it's not just the Daily Wire. I imagine any business, if a business's motive is profit, or if it's profit plus something else, you still have profit in there in the mixture. and you're getting banned and saying things like, oh, the world's evil, you start talking like Jesus, like, hey, don't love the things of this world, or friendship with the world is enmity with God. Store up your treasure in heaven, not on earth where it can rust and moss, people can steal it. None of that stuff's advertisement friendly. And I didn't say it, Jesus said it. You can't serve both God and money. So I think Stephen has this false dilemma that there's going to be some business that's going to back him 100% of the way. And I think it's a false dilemma by going like, oh, there should be a Christian business or a conservative business that backs me. Shame on you, Daily Wire. Well, business is just doing what a business does. I think if Stephen's going like, oh, I want ride or die loyalty, then he should be looking at through something else like a charity or a church or something along those lines where they have no concern for profit. They understand, hey, I'm giving this money away and it might never come back to me, or like the Good Samaritan, hey, whatever his bills are, I'm going to take care of it. But that's something completely different than a business. And of course, no one wants to be persecuted. And of course, nobody wants to go through hardships during this life. Everybody wishes like they could have a pleasurable life now and also be told, hey, you're great and the kingdom to come. If the Bible's truthful, that's not realistic. And Stephen in his mission statement goes like, oh, it's easy just to complain like John Oliver, but don't give any solutions. So follow along with that. What would be the solution? Well, Stephen, you seem like an able-bodied man. You should get a real job. The Apostle Paul didn't beg for money from people so he could do comedy sketches. But are you saying you're greater than the Apostle Paul, who worked manual labor and was used by God to write some of the most important? Are you saying what your skits and your Change My Mind skits are more influential or important than the Apostle Paul? And if the Apostle Paul is able to work with his hands, why can't you? There's no reason why you can't get a manual labor job. There are plenty of them. They're all over the place. There's a high demand for them. And then make your YouTube as a passion project or something that you do free of charge, because you think it's the truth and because you're trying to help people's souls.